Hello, Bible readers. It is Monday, December 14th. We're reading from 1 Chronicles chapters 13 to 16 and Acts chapter 21, verses 1 to 36. On Friday, we heard from 2 Samuel. Some of the same stories we're going to hear repeated in their own way for the chronicler's purposes. Mostly, they're stories about David, first of all, trying and failing to move the ark into Jerusalem before successfully moving it, and then what that story means to a post-exilic Israel. Because remember, that's who the chronicler is writing for. The chronicler is living in and writing for this post-exilic world, talking about David's world and using David's world to offer lessons to his current day and age. David is shown through these stories and in David's persisting to have a faithful mindset. He not only intends to put God at the center of his kingdom, but a lot of leaders intend to do things. They say they want to do things, and then they don't follow through. David actually follows through on this intention by trying to get the ark to where he believes it needs to be. David is leading Israel in seeking God. And that's one of the chronicler's biggest messages throughout what he writes. And that is this priority of seeking. Try to know and be with God. Another message here is to not seek in just any old way. So seeking is important, but don't just do it. You don't have to make up, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, put it that way. The chronicler wants everybody to remember God revealed how to seek through the Torah, through the law, that is. So David and Israel, they don't follow Torah in their first attempt to move the ark. They follow sacred patterns on the second try. This is the first big step toward building a whole temple. To the chronicler's day and age, the message is partial restoration, because at this point, the temple isn't built. The ark is the first step. Even partial restoration that David has brought is not to be seen as a glass half empty. The chronicler wants to say to the people of his own day and age, remember David, he was on his way to full restoration, to full rehabilitation for Israel after Saul. So be encouraged by this story, is what the chronicler is trying to get across. The other story that we read from Acts, Paul has no need for encouragement because he's just going. He's received all the encouragement he needs, right? Paul and the narrative Luke tells, they are coming full circle, literally, really, as he's made a circle kind of around the Mediterranean. We read this through his journey as he's revisiting old characters. We're kind of hitting on and seeing whatever happened to a couple of the people. They're continuing on in their ministry as expected, as prophesied, you could say. And now Paul is mirroring Jesus on his way to willingly suffer in Jerusalem. We hear a lot of echoes from Paul, echoing things that Jesus said, and kind of the same vibe of doom coming. The scene in Jerusalem itself puzzles biblical scholars, especially when compared to how Paul describes it in his own letters. When Paul has this conversation with James, with the Jewish Christian leaders, is Paul rejected? Is Paul abandoned? Was Paul even set up by his own community in Jerusalem? These are all interpretations that over the centuries, that's where people have landed. It's not clear exactly what happened in the way that Luke tells it. There's a lot that many don't agree on. And I guess that's important to know as you read this chapter. If you're like, so what? That's not an uncommon, atypical way to approach these verses. Bottom line, Paul is in trouble. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.